Good day. It's March 15, 2026. The effect of President Trump's war with Iran is being felt around the U.S. and in most parts of the world, with gasoline prices worldwide soaring to a new high. I'm Jessica Rolla. Welcome to The Pulse.
And I'm Jermaine Gutierrez. Welcome to this week's edition.
The flow of crude oil from the Gulf oil-producing country is being choked in the Strait of Hormuz, as Iran has blockaded the channel where 25% of the world's crude oil in tankers pass through. Iran, which threatened to attack any oil shipping tankers going through the Strait of Hormuz, had halted traffic flow for the oil needed by the world. So although most of the supply does not go through the strait, the effect is already felt everywhere with the undeniable rise in gasoline prices in the U.S. and elsewhere. In California alone, the average price of regular gasoline has gone up to about $5.89 per gallon. And in Las Vegas, Nevada, the price is $4.79, with diesel for trucks going as high as $7.85 in California and $6.35 in Nevada. So with the fuel cost increase of almost 18% from before the United States and Israeli attacks on Iran, things could get worse, as there is no plan from the administration as to when this will end. President Trump said in a public statement that we have plenty of oil supply, especially from Venezuela and the U.S. sources, which likely meant from our own offshore drilling. Venezuela, which has the biggest proven oil reserves more than any of the other oil-producing countries, will not be affected by the choked flow of oil in the Middle East and will prove to be the most secured and cheapest oil for the Americas. So other sources of oil that do not travel through the Strait of Hormuz is from Nigeria, which is the largest crude oil exporter in Africa, and those in the Northeast Pacific near Sakhalin Islands, where U.S. oil companies drill. Commerce worldwide was immediately affected as the cost of transporting goods has gone up, as well as collateral to the shortage of fuel coming from West Asia. Prices of airline tickets have also went up in response to the Middle East crisis. The prices in the U.S. can see another round of increase, according to market analysts, and could affect every ordinary American who are already struggling with affordability. So the situation is expected to make things worse for the Republican Party, leading to midterm elections, according to several political pundits.
In a related situation, air travel for hundreds of thousands that were stranded in West Asia has not eased down, as limited flights had been taking off from busy Gulf states airports like Dubai, Doha, Bahrain, and Kuwait, as Iran continues its sporadic attacks on neighboring countries that have U.S. military presence. There are several Las Vegas residents who traveled to Dubai before the U.S. bombing of Iran, and the travelers have not been able to get out yet to return to the U.S. The Philippine Daily Inquirer has been tracking overseas Filipino workers who have been repatriated from West Asia who got caught up in the Iran war. As of last week, 299 Filipinos have been repatriated from Dubai, along with 188 total Filipino tourists, 9 Filipinos straight from Iran to the Ninoy Aquino Airport in Manila, including a story of an OFW in Israel who is worried about returning home because she does not have enough money. As of this week, the only viable escape path for those stranded is to go to Saudi Arabia and fly out of that country. Travelers who are able to reach Saudi Arabia are being advised to comply with the visa requirements of the country.
As more former members of the armed services run for office in this midterm election, Nancy LaCour, a Navy Vice Admiral and former Chief of the Navy Reserve who was fired by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth for exposing a purge within the military of those critical of the Trump administration's leadership, is running for Congress in South Carolina's 1st District. The seat is currently held by Representative Nancy Mace, a pro-Trump Congresswoman. Her campaign platforms are about less partisan politics, affordability, and free access care for current and retired service members, including lower costs of housing and living standards. And Texas is seeing a wave of Democratic victories as more voters are turning out for Democrats. Gina Hinojosa, a civil rights activist and lawyer and current Texas Assemblywoman, will be the Democratic candidate for governor after winning the primary last week. She will be running against Texas Governor Greg Abbott in the general election in November this year. Regina Inez Hinojosa is the daughter of former Texas Democratic Party Chair Gilbert Hinojosa, who also served as a county judge. Gina Hinojosa graduated from the George Washington University Law School.
A tragedy in 1986 is remembered this year for the 40th anniversary of the event that made an impact for decades. In January 1986, the Challenger lifted off Cape Canaveral, Florida, with a diverse crew of NASA specialists, including teacher Krista McAuliffe, who earned the distinction of becoming the first teacher in space. The crew also included 2 women. The Challenger had done already 25 space flights before the tragedy on January 28, 1986, when the rocket booster of liquid oxygen that was necessary for liftoff exploded, killing the entire crew of 7 instantly. The explosion was caused by leaks from the O-ring seal in the rocket booster of the shuttle. The Challenger was destroyed when it was at 40,000 feet altitude. The world was shocked, and America was in grief for weeks after the tragedy. Phil-Am TV Network joins the nation in remembering Francis R. Scobie, the commander, Michael J. Smith, the pilot, Ronald McNair, mission specialist, Allison Onizuka, mission specialist, Judith Resnick, mission specialist, Krista McAuliffe, payload specialist, also known as the first teacher in space, and Greg Jarvis, payload specialist.
February marked the 40th anniversary of the People's Power Revolution in the Philippines, which took place at Epifanio de los Santos Avenue, also known as EDSA. Members of President Marcos' military had grown conscious about liberating the country from Marcos' dictatorship of 18 years in power, and military officers from the 3 armed services, Army, Air Force, and Navy, and had organized to reform the Armed Forces Movement, or ARM. Defense Secretary Juan Ponce Enrile criticized Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos, saying it was Corazon Aquino, the wife of the martyred Senator Benigno Aquino Jr., who won the election. Enrile believed he will be arrested by Marcos loyalists and had blockaded himself at the headquarters of the Armed Forces of the Philippines on February 22, 1986, and called the Archbishop of Manila, Julio Cardinal Sin. Within an hour, Cardinal Sin appealed on Radio Veritas, the Catholic-run radio station, to Metro Manila residents to come to help Defense Secretary, who has rebelled against Marcos and is at Fort Bonifacio, by coming and flooding EDSA to support Secretary Enrile. The Defense Secretary was with the the Armed Forces Movement officers, and was later joined by PNP Chief Fidel V. Ramos, who sided with the rebel forces and consolidated their stand at Camp Crame along EDSA, where millions of Filipinos already gathered to prevent Marcos' forces from getting through. There were several gun battles and skirmishes in Metro Manila, and the sensational battle for the TV station Channel 4 that allowed the rebels to be on television and muster support from the public. Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos left the Philippines with the pressure and convincing of Senator Richard Lugar from Indiana, who was chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, on February 25, 1986, and went on exile in the U.S. and stayed in Hawaii till his death. President Corazon Aquino was immediately sworn into office by Justice Claudio Tijanque and became Philippine president for 6 years, followed by former PNP Chief Fidel V. Ramos, who rebelled against Marcos in the People's Power Revolution. It made an impact in which a week after the EDSA uprising, Haiti overthrew the Jean-Claude Duvalier, son of former President Francois Duvalier, after a 15-year rule. Then it was followed by the June 1987 democracy movement, which overthrew the military regime in South Korea. So it also led to the overthrow of communist dictatorships in Eastern Europe, starting from the rise of Polish President Lech Walesa. Then the pro-democracy parliamentary elections, to the removal of the Soviet flag in the Senate building of the Kremlin in 1991. In 1994, democratic reforms took place in South Africa, electing Nelson Mandela, ending the century-long reign of racial segregation. Corazon Aquino was an honored guest in the inauguration of President Wałęsa in Poland. Nelson Mandela and the South Korean democratically elected president for her example of bravery that toppled a dictatorship and inspired citizens of other countries to do the same for democracy.
In the U.S. House of Representatives, the Republican majority of Speaker Mike Johnson have shrunk even further to a just one-vote majority, with the departure from the Republican Party of Congressman Kevin Kiley, who presently represents California's 3rd Congressional District. Representative Kevin Kiley was the first to criticize the Republicans in Texas for their mid-census redistricting initiated by Governor Abbott, as ordered by President Trump, with the goal of gaining 5 additional Republican districts going into the midterm election. But Governor Gavin Newsom of California, with support from the California legislature, retaliated with the plan to redistrict and passed it in a statewide referendum. Congressman James Kiley will now be competing in a district that includes GOP Congressman Tom McClintock in the primary. This is one of the reasons Representative Kiley left the Republican Party to run as an independent in a district that is now heavy with Democratic voters. In a public statement, Representative Kiley lamented his party for putting party politics first instead of the constituents. Representative Kiley has a campaign war chest of more than $3 million and hopes to push his campaign to the general election without any more Republican support.
Just as more than 30 Republican congressional House members had announced retirement or are no longer running for re-election, another House member, this time from California, had also announced he is retiring from Congress. Congressman Darrell Issa, one of California's most influential House members, is retiring. Most of the decisions about retirements or leaving Congress to back to private life at the end of their term happened after many of the GOP members saw the writing on the wall that the Republican Party will lose big time in the midterm election and turn over the control to the Democrats. So this is what political observers see as a reason. Some were just disillusioned of the party's politics under the second Trump administration, where their constituents are getting angrier by the day due to the situation in the country that Congress never addressed under the House Speaker, always looking up to the White House for decisions.
In the Nevada scene, the Clark County Election Office has been busy the past few weeks accepting the filings of candidates for the midterm election as the primary is fast approaching. Nevada's primary election will be June 9th. Last week, a PhilAm TV News correspondent visited the county election office and saw some candidates doing their official filing. Here's one of them. The Filipino-American Maria Teresa Hank, who is running for the state assembly in the Democratic primary for the seat that will be vacated by Assembly Speaker Steve Eager. A Nevada physician, Dr. Ori Nagi, also filed his candidacy for the U.S. House of Representatives, 3rd District in the Republican primary. We are going to take a commercial break. Please stay with us for the interview of candidate Lena Havasian, who is running in the Democratic Party primary for County Commissioner District F when we come back.
the many recent changes and focus on immigration law, now more than ever is the time to seek the help you need from an attorney you can trust. As an immigrant myself, I know the many difficulties and hardships involved in immigrating to this great country. With more than 10 years of experience in handling immigration cases, our firm can provide the necessary answers and solutions to your needs. Call Calderon Law today so we can work together to help you get the peace of mind you and your loved ones deserve.
Welcome back to The Pulse. With us now here at our PhilAm TV studios is Lena Havanesian, candidate for a seat in the Board of Commissioners, District F in Clark County, Nevada. Lena, welcome to The Pulse.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Please tell us, our viewers, about yourself and your professional background.
So I'm an attorney and I have been a human rights advocate for 10 years, fighting for minority rights and human rights at both the state and federal level, and passing legislation in the state legislature in 2021 having to do with the Holocaust and genocide education. And one of my really important points is that inclusion matters. And so when we were drafting this bill, including other minorities who would suffer genocide was a priority for me, including Darfur, Cambodia, and of course being Armenian American. That was very important. So inclusion matters as minorities. And I think, for me, when I came to this country, I was 4 years old. My family fled war, and we really had to come to this country and had the opportunity, but it was a struggle. My parents had to leave everything behind, and I didn't speak one word of English. They had to rebuild their lives, but America gave us that opportunity. And for a little girl who didn't speak one word of English, because of the opportunities this country gave me, and I worked hard, of course, I was able to graduate as an English literature major. And also, I think because of my background, my grandparents being genocide survivors, the pursuit of human rights and justice has been always very important to me. So I went to law school with that in mind. And that's what led me here ultimately, was the pursuit of justice, fighting for minorities, and also people who are persecuted. So thank you.
Wow, so impressed with your background and all your achievements.
Thank you.
And then where is District F in the County Commission map? I mean, give the viewers an idea, maybe some landmarks?
Absolutely. I brought this map with me, and this map really, I look at it often because it really shows how, this is actually just the metro area. There are also rural areas, but the areas that really it covers are really the high growth areas. And if you look at the map, it goes all the way from Summerlin South, it's Charleston South.
In Painter, is it?
Sorry, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and goes all through Summerlin South to along the 215 Beltway down through Mountain's Edge, Southern Highlands, and also covers the Spring Mountain corridor, which is also a growing area and highly, developing area. So I think, it is a very, very exciting area for our community and our growth. And what I'll say, something that is critical, is whoever is elected to become the commissioner for District F will have a large influence on the vision and the plan on how we develop the southwest of Las Vegas, which is one of the largest growing populations in the entire county.
That is true. And then is this your first run for an elected office?
Yes, it is. This is my first time, and that's what makes it so exciting.
If you're elected to this office in November, what is on your wish list for things you want accomplished for your district or the residents of Clark County? Please feel free to expound.
Thanks for asking that. That is really the key question. And I think right now, the number one issue that is affecting everyone across Clark County, and I would say even nationally, is affordability. So affordability and housing. Second, job growth, job creation, and helping small businesses. Third would be healthcare. And I would also say, because we're talking about the Southwest, the building of infrastructure, which is part of the vision and the plan. So my wish list would be to address each one of those. It's not inclusive because education is a high priority as well. Having passed an education bill and having raised children in Nevada, in Summerlin South, that's been my home, and I think that education has been a real pain point. But affordability is the number one issue that is affecting people right now, and we have to do something about it. So I think that I have what it takes to get this community where we need to be, but we have to be in this together, and it's really a community-wide project, but takes the persistence and the mindset to be able to get things done.
Great. And then with the population of Clark County continually growing, Lena, do you see a need for the county to create a new county commission district in the next 10 years? So the population is well represented. I mean, I just wanted to be educated on this.
Yes. So if the district right now, District F, has 365,000 residents approximately, and as people are moving to Las Vegas, the number is about 40,000 residents a year, or people are moving to Las Vegas a year. If you put that over 10 years, that's 400,000 people, and a lot of those people are going to be moving into the Southwest. So I think in order to appropriately serve our community, I think, having the proper ratio of representation per capita, per community members matters, so that we can get our job done well, and we can attend to building the parks, the community centers, the fire stations, the police stations, and do everything that we need to do. Of course, that's also dependent on budget and being fiscally responsible, which is another thing that I'm very attuned to. Fiscal responsibility, transparency, integrity, and we have to keep ourselves to the highest standards, and that's what I do as a professional, as an attorney, but also as a community leader. I've been a community leader for the Armenian American community, and I think because of all the years that I've dedicated to the highest level of integrity and professionalism, that's the history and the track record that I bring to this position, and that's how I will continue to be if I'm given the privilege to be elected.
I'm glad that you brought your heritage up, and I've noticed that, an ethnic and immigrant background, it's not so much of an issue, but with your Armenian Americans here in Las Vegas or in the state, how many do you know the exact or estimated population of the Armenians here?
Thanks for that great question. Well, I moved here, I've been here for 24 years. When we moved here, there were 5,000 to 10,000 Armenians. Now the population has blossomed to about 40,000 Armenians, and more moving into Clark County every day. So we have, and especially in the Southwest. So I think the similarities that we have in our communities, the AAPI community, is that we have very hardworking, ambitious people, many who are immigrants, who are really working for the American dream, and I would say that for the Nevada dream. And that's why this is such a beautiful place. But we have to keep it affordable so people can realize the dream, that we're not just working hard and standing in the same place, or not being able to afford the basic things. So, I think that there's so many parallels in different immigrant communities, but having a voice in government for our communities, and being able to relate to the experience of being an immigrant, the struggles of working families, of having nothing and trying to make something of yourself, it's very relatable across our communities, and that's what I fight for. That's my vision, my dream, and I really wish that success for everybody in our community.
We are almost out of time for this segment, so Lena, the last words are yours. This will be your pitch to your voters, so.
Thank you. Well, I want to say that it's really an honor and privilege to be here and to speak to your community. The AAPI community is one of the largest, if not the largest, growing community here in Southern Nevada and across Clark County. And I think visibility, inclusion, and just being the ear that your community needs to support our diverse community is very important. And so whether we're working on affordability, healthcare, housing, or education, I'm going to be here to fight for inclusion for every community and for every immigrant that comes to Southern Nevada. We need to be giving them the the same opportunities that we had 24 years ago when I came to Southern Nevada. And that's what makes our community great, is when we celebrate diverse cultures and we all win together. Thank you, and I hope you give me the vote and you give me the chance so that we can make Southern Nevada the amazing place that it can be together. Thank you.
Lena Havanesian, candidate for County Commissioner, District F, thank you for talking to us today, and good luck on your race.
Thank you so much. It's a real pleasure to be here.
And to our viewers out there, thank you for watching. I'm Jermaine Gutierrez. Please join us again next week.
And I'm Jessica Rolla. God bless your week.